Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. So we've had a really hard frost and I've come down today and everything is frozen. So one of the things I planned to do was move a bush that's in one of the beds just here, which is just over in the corner, and it's a black currant bush which I wanted to put with the other black currant bushes that I planted last week. So I create basically a fruit garden area rather than it just my plot ending, so it's got a bit more of a hedge. So that's the plan. But I've come down today and everything's frozen, so I can't move it now. So I thought I'd use this opportunity to talk through some of the plans I have for this plot, and I'll also talk in another video about the plans I have for my other plots. So I've actually called both my plots names now. So this has been and always will be called the Forget-Me-Not Garden. My second plot, which I took on February last year, nearly a year ago now, is going to be called the Primrose Garden. Both my favourite flowers, but that way you'll know where I am. So a couple of things I've got planned for this garden in particular at the Forget-Me-Not Garden is to change some of the beds around. So this is always and always will be a raised bed garden. So I garden on all the raised beds. But one of the things I'm going to try in some of the beds this year, particularly in a lot of the raised beds that I have, is to do a square foot gardening plan. So I'm actually going to mark out square foots in two of the beds to see if I can maximise some of the space that's in that bed. So that's one of the things that I'm going to do. Now the bed that I'm going to choose to do that in is this bed that I'm showing you now. And the reason being is because it's quite a long bed, I can change it around and I can move things as I plan to. So the second bed that I'm also going to have a look at square foot gardening in is this one. And the reason I'm going to do it in these two particular beds is one is bigger than the other, as you can see. And secondly, I want to compare it to the other beds that I have that are the same size, but are not going to be square foot. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of an experiment to see, A, if I get a bit more of a harvest, and secondly, if I like it, if it's too cramped, I want to compare it, is basically what I'm saying. So that's my first plan for this plot. Now I also want to show you what I'm going to be growing and where. So next year I plan to grow some cucumbers outside, and I'm going to use this bed that I'm showing you now to grow them into. Last year I grew all my cucumbers in the greenhouse and some of them didn't do very well. I lost them quite early in the season. They were growing and growing and growing, and then we got hit with that really bad heat and I fried them. So I'm actually going to plant some in the greenhouse, but also do an outdoor variety. So that way I can, if I have a failed crop, rely on another crop that I've got growing outside. So the variety that I'm going to grow inside the greenhouse were really successful last year, and they are Socrates or Socrates cucumbers, the little mini ones. So I'm going to grow them, and the variety I'm going to grow outside are Market More. So they're the two varieties of cucumbers that I'm going to grow this year. Also, I plan to grow tomatoes in with my cucumbers. Now, I'm not sure if you can do this. There's varying opinions out there whether you can or you can't, but I'm going to try it. Again, I'm going to do another experiment, but as a precaution, as I say, I am going to have cucumbers in another plot, which I'm going to have on the Primrose Garden, also growing outside but away from the tomatoes. So I'm just going to show you some of the beds, and this is the plan that I have for the beds at the Forget-Me-Not Garden. So as you can see, I've mapped out exactly where I'm going to plant things. And one of the things I didn't do last year in particular was succession sowing. Succession sowing is where you have a plan to put in something into the bed after that crop is finished, so you're continually using your beds. And this is another reason why I want to do the square foot gardening in 2 of the beds, because last year what happened was I got to the end of midsummer and I had nothing to put in the beds, so I was kind of running to the garden centre looking for plants to grow and putting them in, which I don't really want to do. I want to grow a lot of my plants from seeds. I also last year had a lot of plants from the garden centre because I got the second plot, and I was always told that it would be another year, so I had no plans to sow that much. And then when I got the second plot, I had no kind of plan to what put in it, so it was kind of a garden rush. So I do have a plan for the second plot and what I'm going to plant there, but I will show you that in a separate video so I can talk you through that as well. So if I show you this area, which is my no dig garden bed, and all my raised beds are now no dig, so I've gone fully no dig on this plot completely. And in this plot, this is where the pumpkins are going to grow. So I grew pumpkins in that bed last year that were really successful. I managed to get 2 good crops from that, and I'll show you that crop that I had from that bed. So I was really pleased because it was a really good sunny spot. I've got the fruit garden that's going to go behind it, so hopefully it won't shade it too much, but if it does, then obviously it's something I'm going to change for the following year. Again, as a precaution, I am going to grow pumpkins at the other plot, so if I do have a failed crop here, because I'm experimenting quite a lot on this plot, I will have a backup supply at that plot as well. But yes, that's what I'm going to grow. So tomatoes, I'm going to put the frame up in a few weeks' time. I had planned to do it today. Now I've got my beds marked out, but the ground is frozen, so I'm not going to do that today. But yes, that is the plan. So a couple of things I've actually bought, just to update you. So I bought my potatoes. So we have a shop up here, and there's a really lovely guy, Simon, that runs it. He's fabulous, and it was his birthday yesterday, and yes, he's great. He runs the shop up there with a few of the other volunteers that run the shop, and we can go there, buy our potatoes or whatever seeds that we're looking for, and he'll pretty much have them in stock, so he's fab for that. On the second plot I also have a shop up there, so if they don't have a supply there I can always go to the other one. So that's it. So I've got 2 varieties of potatoes. I've got Charlotte potatoes, which are my second early, and I've also got my rocket potatoes, which are my first early. So they are going to go onto the windowsill and they are going to chit. To chit, I always chit. It's never done me any harm. Some say against it again, but I always chip my potatoes, so they're going to go on the windowsill. And the second thing is these lovely little lanterns. So I was really pleased with these, and then I saw another lantern recently on another YouTube video at Danny's grapevine garden, and I was like, oh, that's a paraffin one, whereas these are only battery, so it doesn't quite have the same effect. But am I going to be tempted? Possibly. But yes, possibly, because although these are good, I don't know, I might get one for outside. These are good for the inside of the greenhouse, but I think I would like one for when I'm in the summer and the nights are getting a little bit darker, where I can just sit up here and with the sun going down have a little bit of a light on the shed, like he's got. So I think I'm going to pinch that idea from you, Danny. But yes, that is what I plan. The other plan, I'm going to get rid of one of my strawberry beds. So I've got a strawberry bed that hasn't really done very well, and I've got the bigger strawberry bed as well. When I started and took over this plot, this was the first thing I put in, and it's never really done very well. And compared to the outdoor strawberry bed, I haven't actually had any strawberries from that either. So I'm going to really think about strawberries, but I think one of the problems I haven't done with my strawberries is to fertilise them and give them a bit of a feed. So I've heard blood, fish and bone is really good for strawberries, so I'm really going to hammer them with that this year. So I can kind of hopefully get some strawberries, because I haven't actually had any since I've had the plot. So, but that's fab. So a couple of things I have lost in the frost. The pak choi hasn't done very well. It's kind of flopped a little bit. So I'm gonna, well, I was gonna pull it out, but the ground's frozen, so I'm not gonna pull that out. But yes, that has unfortunately killed over. So I've lost that, but I have had a really good harvest. I picked some of that last week, and it was really nice. So I had to move it out of the greenhouse because I had to get it out because we had whitefly in. On the note of the whitefly, it's gone. Which is great, because I really didn't want to get one of those fumigation things. I don't like them, and I never have done. I really didn't want to get one of those, so that's great. But yes, that's all I'm going to really update you on this week. So thanks for watching ever, and take care, and see you again soon. Bye for now.